Men.
Good to have you this evening. Last week, we did finish our conversation, which was about men and unemployment and underemployment. So we felt that the conversation still needs to go on just a little bit so that we can wrap this up and help you men out there who either are unemployed or are underemployed or know somebody who's going through that. Gentlemen, the show goes on. Literally, that's the way it is. I'll start with you, Wanda, and then we'll get to the rest of the guys. Now, in some circles, you could really be known as what is called a hip-hop artist. And what do I mean by that? You've hopped from one thing to another. You see, you've just literally.
You're a hip-hopper.
Literally, yeah. Now, in line of versatility, just tell us your story. I mean, you started off with literally rapping. I mean, was that where you saw yourself going? Was that your dream? Then what made you say, okay, this is not working, and let me jump to something else?
I mean, it's not like it's not working. I'm currently still putting out the music.
All right, great.
And
stuff.
I've had some great music in my catalog, to be honest. Just that there are many factors that contribute. I feel like as an artist as well, when I kept using that term of the artist is in the corner, in Uganda particularly, you won't find as many success stories when it comes to music. And that's why they're struggling the most. And as far as holding your own and managing to live, not to just languish, but to thrive as an artist. I'm fortunate enough that I love the music. I've had love for music for a long time. What I think changed my life really was a story that I've not been using. I've not been talking about since I started getting into this limelight.
You're a celebrity, you know that.
Yeah, whatever that is. Yeah, but there was a detention story of mine in the UK. I was arrested for about 4 months.
Wow.
That's really what changed my life. And I've not been telling that story until recently.
Yeah.
And it changed my entire outlook on life.
Man's a convict, man.
You get me? Akon vibes.
Locked up.
You know what I mean? So that's really what changed my life.
Yeah.
Now, in hindsight, I've always had this thing for music, podcasting. I grew up listening to all these. I mean, when I was working night shifts and so on, we'd play Breakfast Club, Hot 97, 106, and like I'd go and work at Jewish factories after school, and I'd be with a bunch of Ugandans and we're playing an interview, say whoever is on the show today at Breakfast Club, and then we break it down, whoever is on this show and so on. So we'd work while we're playing, we'd be at the bakery while we're playing this interview. So I had genuine interest around this type of thing, the sort of thing with the music and art and so on. And also I started to become a student as well and learn about what storytelling actually can do for a community, which for me, I believe art has the ability to shape culture even more than logical philosophy. That's a topic for another day. And especially in a space like ours where the high watermark of human achievement is being a doctor, being a lawyer, being an engineer, and so on.
That's when people listen to you.
Yeah, and so I believe that in a country like ours, not everyone is going to be a doctor, not everyone is going to be a lawyer. You have to work in, all of us, I think collectively, like you mentioned last week, where I have to find a way of, because when you talk about, for example, now like the factory, we're talking about, we're pushing coffee is the backbone of this country. But you need me to tell the coffee story through art. You know what I'm saying? You cannot do it minus, devoid of me. I'm a key stakeholder. I'm not begging. I am a stakeholder in this conversation. Because when I hold the coffee and I find creative ways of pushing that coffee, that's what is going to entice the people. Because again, everything is predicated on emotion, how I feel, right? So that's what took me there. But it all began from the detention story. It was a very dark thing.
Just tell us a bit about that.
Man, that was quite something. I mean,
what did you do?
I was with a bunch of wrong guys at the time. I was pushing my paperwork, and the guys were pushing drugs and so on. I just got caught up in the wrong place at the wrong time. And I thought the case would have taken 2 weeks. It took 4 months. And in that moment, it was very dark. The first 2 months were very dark. But in hindsight, it was in there that I truly found my freedom. Because all along I knew that's when I figured out I was a prisoner.
Yeah.
And I think that ties into what I represent here. I feel like most of us are prisoners. Conditioning, that's a prison, right? Like you've been set to fit within the confines of, especially as a man, work within the confines of masculinity, whatever that means or looks like. So it was in that prison that I found my freedom.
Okay.
And so it was very dark, but it was not like those where you're with guys who have killed and so on. No, there's a particular
detention sentence.
Detention, but it was still pretty much like a prison that you see on TVs and so on. So that's really what changed my life. It's what gave me this outlook on life, where number one, I don't identify myself by what I do.
Yeah.
I am not an artist. I'm a stream. I call myself a stream, a keeper of the flame.
Yeah.
So you cannot pinpoint and say you're a musician.
Yeah.
If you attack that, tomorrow I'm something else.
You've changed to something
I've changed
else.
something.
Yeah.
I'm fortunate enough that I've never really identified as one thing. I am just a human being that is fortunate to tell the African story.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, Colin, I see a problem with Wanda. I need you to weigh in. And I'll tell you
It's
why.
the best guest we've ever had. Man, what are you doing?
Hear me out. Now, his story is a story of versatility. It's a story of resilience. It's a story of the ability to adjust and say, all right, I'll give it an example like a hare. You're chasing it and it says, okay, this chap is catching up with me. You know what?
Maybe use a rabbit, because hair, some people don't know about hair.
Okay.
And they may be saying what is absent on your head.
So rabbit.
Use rabbit.
All right. A rabbit. Okay. You're chasing a rabbit. It notices you're catching up with it. It will flip and say, I'm going to change direction. This ninja can't get. Now, these are not the majority. That's why I see it as a problem. Now, a lot of people, that's why we have men who get stuck, all right, and don't realize that, all right, you know what, this is not working. You talked about applying out of your scope, of saying, all right, I'm a marketer. Let me look for a job in marketing. It's not working. What more can I do? Even going lower, because some people get stuck in that place and say, you know what, I cannot do a certain job. I mean, I didn't go to school to get a PhD to come and do this. How do you remove that mind block?
The question that you're asking, and I think when you think about what Wanda is talking about, for me, the paradigm that I take out of this, you see the pivot, I see the crucible. And it's a very different perspective, because it is in the crucible, it's in the fire that you separate ore from iron. Right? It's how you purify gold. It's under pressure and heat that you turn dirt and coal into diamonds. This is just a story that's very old. It's as old as time. And for me, that's sort of how I think about it. So I think that men must go through some level of hardship. Otherwise, we all remain at the same level. So the more hardship...
So it's good to go through the pain.
Yes. Because pain is a separator, Peter.
Major General who?
Kulaije.
Elijah mentioned it. He said men have to suffer.
Yes.
Well, he's an army man.
I think now, because men and women are equal, everyone must suffer.
It's like space.
No. Uncontrollably.
Really?
Guys, pain and suffering is like national cake. Everyone must take. It's just that sometimes, like Jaluo, you take heartbreak. If you're like Chris, you have to deal with like suffering sheep who don't listen. You cancel them. They keep going back to their errant ways, right?
Yeah.
If you're like Peter, your suffering is like Colin, right? Every couple of weeks, you have to come on Tuesday and deal with him, and you go back and your wife gives you something, says, there, baby. You don't have to deal with him for another 7 days. I'm saying that I think that if we don't suffer, we all remain the same. Because your ability to take pain separates you from people around you. And when you really think about it, Peter, the people who are at the top are people who are able to take the most pain. Whether it's pain of rejection, it's pain of hard work, it's a sacrifice of family, it's being able to take betrayal. I think, and maybe that's not what life is. But for sure, the readings from around where we live and our society indicate that the people who are able to take pain are people who progress. Also, you have survived 100% of the things that have tried to kill you. So that's a fact.
Because you're still here.
Yes.
Yeah.
All the people who can't survive those things aren't here. They went back to the village. They passed away. They off themselves. Like the world is always trying to take you. The more things you survive, the farther ahead you get. I say that to say, and I think Okello said it really well last week, community is important, to surround yourself with those things. The other thing, the idea we're talking about is this idea of the crucible, knowing that the pain is necessary for you to go forward. for you to progress, for you to refine yourself, to build your discipline. I think that that's another key part of that. Because people want to grow, but they don't want to do the work, the discipline to say. So you think about it, and you know what's deceptive? It's like this guy. So you find him rapping in Runyanko, you're like, that guy. You see his videos, he's on a farm, you see some cars, you see his beautiful mom, they're out there making jokes. He's like, when are you marrying a wife? What? Then he comes out here and starts using words like epigenetics. Right? You see? You guys didn't catch that. Me, I caught it. I was like, this farm boy.
Who taught him that?
He's lying to us. Yes. And I think that that's the thing. So that then you separate yourself from all your circumstances and how the world has seen you to then advance yourself to the next level.
All right, cool. Great stuff. Now, we are here at Sanga Courts still talking about men in unemployment and how do you manage as a man. If you know a man out there who's going through a couple of issues, reach out. Let's have this discussion. Our hashtag is hashtag NTV MEN, or you can speak to us on Twitter. It is NTV_men. When we get back from the break, Chris, without using Jesus Christ as an example, can we say pain?
That guy was unemployed also.
Not even one day.
We'll be right back after the break.
Men. Men.
Welcome back from the break. In case you've just joined us, we are here at Sanga Court, and Colin believes in his heart of heart that Jesus Christ was unemployed. Now, before we
I have no heart.
we address the unemployment
He walked in
issue,
the wilderness.
is looking for a job.
That guy gave up his carpentry stuff to go and wander the darkness and feed hungry people. You think that guy had a job?
What do you call that?
He was depending on the kindness of strangers. Anyway, this is it's not the thing.
That's what church people do. So, Chris, suffering. The gentlemen have
I think I
alluded
messed
to the
up.
fact that a man must suffer. Major General Kulaiju said it's good for a man to suffer. We know iron sharpens iron, but in this age of soft life, is it necessary to suffer? Can't you just get through life? Otherwise, even when I'm not suffering, it means I'm going to be at my job, wherever it is, and I know, at any one point, it's going to happen. If it hasn't happened now, it's going to happen at some point.
So we need to start somewhere. I will never agree to giving you an answer where you remove Jesus Christ from my mouth, because I think he is God's perfect example for how we can live life.
But it was God.
Yeah, but he was man as well. And he was an example for us to follow. So I will never agree to that.
As an example.
The Bible says that Jesus learned obedience by the things he suffered. So the whole thing of us thinking that we can go through life without suffering is not truth. Like there's got to be suffering, and it builds into something good, right? Just think about it. If you grow up in a home where you do carpentry as a business, you'll probably bang your fingers, you go through the carpenter stuff until you learn the craft. And then at some point in the Bible, the Joseph story disappears. We see Joseph at birth, and then at 12, then by the time he makes 30, there's no story of Joseph. So actually, because he was the firstborn in the family, he had taken over leadership and was taking care of his mom and siblings. That's why at the cross, he told John, one of his disciples, behold your mother, pointing to talking about his mother, and says, woman, behold your son. In other words, he bequeathed that care of his mother to his disciples. So he was taking care of his mom. Okay? So in other words, he was orphaned in terms of earthly father not having that cover and having to hustle and make sure that the family is okay. Okay. There's very few times I totally agree with Colin, but this is one of the times. Life is not smooth sailing. Anything left to itself tends to decay. That's the law of entropy. So, there's a preacher called Andrew Womack who says, If you're finding no resistance in life, check that you're not actually going in the same direction with the devil, because when you're going counter flow, you're most likely doing something right, right? For me, in this, just from the biblical perspective, because for me that informs my life, the way I live. In the book of Romans, Paul talks about faith in God, faith in Christ, and he explains it. It says in Romans 5:1, therefore, having been justified by faith, we have peace with God through our Lord Jesus Christ, through whom we have access by faith into this grace in which we stand and rejoice in hope of the glory of God. And then it says, not only that, but we also glory in tribulations. That's suffering, right? Yeah. We glory in tribulations, knowing that tribulation produces perseverance, and perseverance, character, and character, hope. Now, hope does not disappoint because of the love of God that's been poured into our hearts by the Holy Spirit. In other words, there is good that comes from suffering, from tribulation, right? Because it produces perseverance, and perseverance, character, and character, hope. So you find that you are stable because of the things you've gone through. One of the things I like about what's just happened is Wanda here is saying, you see all these things that this guy is doing? I suffered to learn them. It's the pain I went through. I was locked up. I was working night shifts, working in bakeries and industries, working for Jews and all that stuff. And while I was doing that, I was listening to podcasts. So you think that he discovered podcasts yesterday, lucky guy. No, while he was suffering, he was learning. Yeah. That produced character. So I really believe that while we're talking about employment and underemployment and how to make do with what we have and how to forge ahead, we cannot go past pain. I've told my kids as they're growing up, I call it the kink. Mm-hmm. You know when you have a thermometer, it's got a kink. Mm-hmm. So in everything you're going through life, you get to a hard part and you need to power through the kink before you actually rise. Yeah. It's just the way life is.
But then in that line of thinking, the reality is there are certain people who have higher tolerance. Isn't it wrong to expect all of us to have the same tolerance to pain?
Can I finish
just and then we'll come
back to you? So I feel that if we just simplify it, have a framework of a triangle, right? I think that we need three things. And when you have those three things working, you seem like you have a higher tolerance of pain, but it's actually because you're balanced, right? And here's how I look at it. That you need to have a good upward relationship with God, because in all of us is a God void. Yeah. When you have trouble between you and God, there's something wrong. So you're stressed, things are not working right. But then second is community. Stefan talked about it. It's not just peers, but sometimes you need mentors. People who can show you the ropes and say, no, my boy, this is not how you do it. This is how you go about this. So you go faster, easier, right? But then the other thing is that you need mission, you need purpose. Yeah. The other day, Peter, I made 49 in October. Yes, I did. And so I was having a conversation with my wife and we're like, okay, so imagine if God gives us another 50 years. She's like, 50 years? What are we going to be doing here for 50 years? Do you see what I mean? So the only thing that makes sense is if there is a purpose that you believe in, that's what keeps you going. Right. You're helping humanity in some way. When those three things are okay, your upward relationship with God, your inward relationship with community, and your outward relationship with a purpose, commission, something you believe in that gets you up in the morning and you feel fulfilled, then you actually look like you have resilience. Yeah. But actually, it's because you are generally happy. You're balanced.
Right. Yeah, still. Yeah.
So two things. This reads into two things. Community, which I talked about earlier on. But there's another aspect that I also want to talk about, character. And character is built from family. I'll give you a story of how I started my radio journey. I went to university, I got my degree. I worked in some of the best institutions in Nairobi, in Kampala, and there was a time I didn't have a job. And if I was to tell you that there was a point in my life I didn't have a coin, I once walked from Buyogerere, Boyos, to Kampala. 3 days. I'd wake up at 4 and walk to work.
Must have been a healthy chap.
And walk to town, you understand? And if I didn't have the character, if I didn't have the discipline, I didn't have what, Chris is talking about, the discipline that, I have a goal. There's something that I'm looking for. I would not be where I am. The problem that we have with today's generation, and I think it also reaches into the community that they come from, is that there's some instant gratification thing. You see Jalu on radio for the longest time, and you think he just woke up one day and he was there. There was some suffrage. There was a point in my life where I walked to work, and this is the truth. I walked, and I would come back, and no one knew about this.
You inspired Nathan.
Yeah, and I've actually talked on radio at one point, and I've told people that sometimes you need to know how to be broke.
Yeah.
In your own space and not borrow, just be broke. I remember there was a point I would walk and stop at Chadondo and sit down, and then walk back.
That was your break point.
Yeah.
Just before, because Colin, I need to come to you off springboarding of what Jalu has just said. And last week we talked about it, and you seem to have eluded what I was trying to say. You talked about, and I really wanted you to bring it out, not looking like your problems, if I may.
Yeah.
So how important is it, especially to a man's mental health, to get up and look the part, not look like, basically, I have an aunt who used to call it wearing your problems on your shoulders like pips in the army.
Okay, so two things. I'm going to come to the question, but I wanted to, something Chris said and something that's Okello said, which is, there's an old saying that says, if you have no doubt on the why, you can undergo anyhow. Right?
Yeah.
Which is the thing about mission and purpose. The mission is part of what makes you able to go through the suffering.
Absolutely.
Otherwise the suffering breaks you. Because the journey of becoming is so tough. You need to fix your mind on a destination, on an outcome. And that is what then allows you to say, today was tough, I'll try again tomorrow. Right?
I'm about to say amen.
No.
Say
Amen.
Say it, man.
You really could sound like a pastor
No,
right now, but I hear what you're saying.
No, Peter, you're talking like this. It's just because I have a PhD in suffering. I've suffered more than this. And so I know how to speak to it, right?
Yeah.
But that's the thing, right? The mission, that thing, that purpose which Chris said, the thing at the end, the thing on the triangle which says, this is what we're going for. It reminds you to align with, your higher purpose, but it also allows you to remain committed in the community.
Right.
And so anything that comes then has to go through. That's why they say, when they talk about people who give up, they say, he gave up the will to live. Right? It's not, something took away your purpose, your meaning, your will to live, your desire to go on. Why is that important to the question that you've asked me? Because if you know what the mission is or the purpose is, then you dress for the job you want.
Right.
The biggest problem with suffering is, and this is the thing that we haven't spoken about, is it takes away your dignity. Poverty takes away your dignity. And a really good example of this is, you don't have the money to go to the dentist. You don't have the insurance to go to the dentist for a tooth cleaning service. Yeah? Tooth cleaning service is 300, 400K, right? But then in 2 years, you have to do a root canal, which is $1,000. Right? Because that's what poverty does. You don't have the resources to have a clean house and make sure your house is dust-free.
And get into a relationship.
But then you have jiggers, which then require surgery and amputation. So the poverty takes away the small dignities, which then creates this much larger existential problems. Right? And this is why the psyche is important.
Yeah.
The focus allows you to say,
Right.
I know how to speak this English. I have written these strategies before. What I am going through is a temporary situation. It's not who I am.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Come on.
Yeah.
And therefore, I must continue to dress like how I want to be seen.
Come on.
But also in my mind, this is who I am.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so when you talk to me, I'm not a guy with no shoes in a
Right.
vest and just hoping and begging you can give me any job, because that also creates desperation. You have to dress to be the confident, direct, forthright, and competent individual you know yourself to be. This is the psychology behind dressing, continuing to not look like your problems.
Yeah.
It's basically the faith it till you make it.
Yes.
Yes.
I like that. Faith it until you
Yes,
make it.
because you believe
Yeah.
you're not saying this is why you're manifesting what you need to
Right.
become.
Yeah.
And in that way, even the universe or God or circumstances, people say, you know what? That guy is facing his
Right.
situation with dignity. The poverty, the suffering hasn't taken away his humanity.
It doesn't define him.
It hasn't
Yeah.
made him a thief.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that those things are important if you're ever going to be in a situation to bounce back. Because I am the bounce back king.
Come
Oh,
on.
yes.
I am the comeback kid. I know what it means to be down and out.
Come
Yeah.
on.
Yeah?
Yeah.
To be loved only by people who you had to lie to them and put a ring on their and they are the ones who love you.
Now we do need to
That's what I know.
But you know, one thing that you have to understand is that where does this character come from? That character of discipline, and I have to just persevere and go. It emanates from a childhood where he was raised to be disciplined. You understand? He did not just wake up one day and he was a disciplined guy. I live in a, let me finish. I live in a foreign country. If you do not know, I'm a Kenyan. There are other easier routes that I would have taken. Maybe I'd become a thief and whatnot. But based
You're
on
just a thief of hearts.
on my childhood, the discipline that was instilled in me, and that's why I insist that discipline also reads into community, and community can be the small family fabric. I had to still persevere and go on because I was raised to
be that. All right. Now we do need to go into a quick break. We are here at Sanga Courts talking about men, because we have now moved from unemployment to bouncing back. How do you get back on your feet? So, pardon my language, shit has happened. What do you do? We'll be right back after the break.
Men. Men.
All right, welcome back from the break. We had to continue this discussion because it's very important, especially for a lot of men out there who are facing challenges. Now, guys, as we bring this thing home, and Chris, I'll need for you to weigh in. How important is it to have a spouse who has got your back? Or does that not matter as long as you've got it in you, you're that guy who can handle your business, you're good?
Man, Peter.
Because you're choosing, this is a lot. Somebody's going to go through your problems for life.
I think that right after a decision for one to give their lives to Christ as their Lord and Savior, which I think is the most important decision in life, the second most important is the spouse you marry. Because they make or break you.
Right.
And for the life of me, I don't know where I would be without the wife God gave me. Like,
You talk about Kalangos. The man
no,
is
no,
doing
no,
his wife a Kalangos.
guys, I am telling you.
Rightfully so.
No, listen, she's called Lynette. I don't know where I would be without her.
And you're speaking honestly.
Yeah, I'm telling you. I look, this thing, there is no. Yeah. This one, I like through the hardest of times, someone who is there with you and believes in you, or sometimes doesn't even know what to say to encourage you, and she's just there.
Right.
Just there, one of the best gifts in life is to have someone who believes you even when they don't understand why.
Yeah.
They just like, because you're here and you put up your head this one more day, I believe.
That's deep.
And it turns around and the waiting ends, and then there's a spark, and then something starts to work, and then there's some momentum, and then when people see you in the good times, when you're riding the waves high, you're surfing the waves and stuff like that, it's like, one lucky ninja over there. No. It's been that, right? So when you have a spouse like Delilah,
Yeah.
who is set out to destroy you, because Samson's problem was this. He hooked up with a woman who had signed a contract to destroy him.
Chris, you don't do it sometimes intentionally. You just meet
No,
and
but
arrive.
I'm just saying.
That's a fact,
Finish.
I'm just saying
because
that
we have some more context. Omanyi, yours is a straight story.
No.
We're the ones who add this.
No, but guys, let me tell you. When you're hooked up with someone whose contract is to destroy your life, you are cooked.
Chris, those are the sweetest ones.
Right? Yeah, sweet when you're in between her legs, not sweet when the Bible, like how the Bible says, she reduces you to a crumb of bread. I have seen
in
great
school,
men.
we used to say, eat once, suffer once.
No, yeah, but true. But as you suffer,
On visitation,
Yeah.
they bring the rice, you chew the rice,
Yeah.
then you're like, guys, I will
but
starve.
the problem is that
Now we can
you're
eat
reduced. I know, but the problem is that you're reduced to a crumb of bread where you look in the mirror and you can't even recognize who you are,
Yes.
because someone has done these rounds around you, and not only have they taken all your livelihood, they have snatched your soul and
Right.
destroyed it, and you don't have a fighting spirit anymore. There's men who women have cut down, like just by their words.
Come on.
They're nagging, then they're cutting you down. What kind of man are you? You can't even.
Yeah.
There's a time a woman told me, she told a guy, you what kind of man are you? You can't even erect. Now look, listen, it's possible. And I think that's one of the biggest misfortunes in life. To have, where you should have had someone fighting in your corner,
Right.
Fighting against
and they are killing.
They're crushing you.
And then they look like an innocent flower. No, me, I don't know what he's talking about. And behind the scenes, they're look, so don't get me started.
Yeah.
A spouse
Yeah.
who is supportive, best gift.
Yes.
Yeah.
Best gift in life.
Okay, now.
No, because me, I want to support Chris, because I don't know.
But you said there's some who just come by.
No,
you were not
I
looking
said-
for
I said-
Delilah.
I said
and
that there are some
then
people-
she shows up, and you decide, I'll deal with the consequences.
Yeah, because listen, we all don't have the same fortitude
As
and
Chris.
foresight in life like Chris. Chris is the anomaly. He's the outlier.
Wow.
The majority
There
of
are
us,
actually many people who are like this.
you know what? People
Surprising.
want to
But
be
go
like
on.
you. People wish they were
Yeah.
like you. But let me tell you, dear viewers, I have sat with this man for 10 years on this set. You are not like him. If you were like him, we would be living in a very different society.
True.
A lot of people, Chris, they're human, they're fallible.
Well, he's not human.
No, he's human, but
No, he wants to coin me as some way, which is, that's
Oh,
calling getting
no,
at me.
but they are fallible, they make mistakes, but also they give into these seductions that we go through. Shortcuts. And it's not always about women, it's shortcuts. I would rather take this shortcut path to success than actually do the work and go the distance. But the thing I wanted to answer for you, Peter, was I think that a good spouse can be the difference between giving up and staying in the game.
Right. Absolutely.
And I speak that with a lot of authority.
Absolutely.
I think that my wife loved me through a very difficult time.
Okay.
And I mean, we are where we are. We were happy. We're okay. But like a large part of that is, and what Chris said is sometimes your spouse doesn't even have the tools or the language to understand what you're going through. But to just sit there and say, okay, we have prepared some food, you eat. Okay, let's go to bed.
No advice, no nothing.
No,
Just
because
be there.
because the situation is grave, it's tough.
Yeah.
But they see that you're trying. They see that you're applying, you're doing this. They see that you're doing these things. And they know that possibly the best way to support you is to just be there.
Yeah.
And also because there's a thing for men around the dignity of begging for help. Because you can't do that and remain the same, because then something in your ego, in your pride sort of gets bruised.
And it's taken away.
And so allowing you to go through this but retain your dignity is also an act of grace. It can be God-given, it can be inbuilt, but that's why your spouse is important. A spouse who will give you the grace to say, you know what, you can go through this, but you don't have to, your dignity doesn't have to be shredded. I don't have to go behind your friends and say, that guy is jobless. You see, since he lost his job, he can't even erect. They talk all the words, until even though you're trying to dress not like your problems, people start to see you. They're like,
we know.
We have inside information.
Right, guys,
that's the thing.
Yeah, we do need to now wrap this up. But as we wrap up, and we start with you, Jalo, your parting shot, my question is, because as a man, I think we all agree that suffering is part of it. It's something that we will go through. Is it okay to break down?
So I'll say this, but I want to just add on to, and I want to talk to women in general. You can break your man, you can build your man. Some of the small things that you say to your guy, you'll think that it's very small, but that might be the genesis of his downfall. The small things you say, you will come back from home, he has toiled the whole day for you. Then you say something so small that is the reason why you actually, you cannot even, erect, for example, and it will just kill his macho, and that will be the downfall. And his role, he's the role player in your family. He's the breadwinner, like different things. But in regard to what you have just said about breaking down, men, you're a human being. You'll always break down, and I'll also go back to community. It is very important. The way men are groomed, you're groomed to be the man. You're groomed to think that, I can soldier on alone. What they do not tell you is that, back in the day, there was community amongst men, it's the reason why, your parents took you back home, you communed with your cousins, your uncles. They told you that, even as we went through this. The problem that we have today is that you live in your own circumference, in your own room, and you think that you're the only one going through this. And one day it bottles up, and you decide that, let me just end my life. Let me get into drinking. You get into bad habits. You need to commute, and there are spaces for this. There's church. I do not know why we kind of demonize church in today's era, but church is very important. Go to church. And the men were going through this. They commune with your cousins. Talk to other men. I host a show on radio. Talk to me. My platform. Just slide into my DMs. Ask what can I do. We will come in. We'll talk to you. It's not the end of the world.
Okay. Your parting shot.
No, I think we've said a lot of the things that we need to say today. The thing that Stefana said is, many times, by the way, as men, you deserve the wife you get. No, you deserve the partner you get, right? Because if you marry for bums and brown kids, then that's what you get, right?
That's it.
It's true. And don't even laugh, because there are people who do this.
Yeah.
They marry for aesthetics, for surface level things. Then life comes, it checks you 1-2 punches, you're down on your knees. Instead of someone saying, let me give this guy a bottle of water, it's like, look at him. Right?
Yeah.
So she's standing with the other one laughing at you. I think that's also part of, for people like Wonder Woman not yet married who are looking for a wife.
Yeah, his mom keeps saying that.
I urge him and viewers out there, don't look for a partner for surface level things. Look for something a bit. They can be a believer, they can be a Christian, they can be someone faithful, but also they can be kind, right? They can be kind in a world that's envious and jealous and unkind and full of users. The person who's kind becomes an outlier. And so I think that my parting shot then becomes, life is, so the suffering is going to come, we've all agreed. Who you go through it with. So the community, we've said you have to work on. Because people can't be there for you if you're not there for them. So you invest in the community, but then the decision you make on your partner, it also determines how you survive and go through that. That's it.
All right, cool, great stuff. Wonder, your parting shot.
Man, I love this.
Yeah.
I love, again, when men come and openly speak, it's amazing. For me, I'm enriched by this sort of energy, and you see, it's hard to find. So I'm extremely grateful to have been in having this exchange and so on. The three things I'll probably say is, one, there's something I've been looking into around willpower. And when you look at the great men, there's something about them, Malcolm X, Martin Luther, Solomon, there's something about willpower where you spend so much energy in one thing and become extremely weak in the other, which tends to be the women. And I think something has to be looked into that. I've been doing a bit of research around that. And there's something in there about those men. Why do we seem to be weak in certain areas and yet focus on, even in the churches, there's men and women who sort of focus on one thing and then you become extremely weak because you spend so much energy in that one thing that you're exploited in other areas, which I think is where the faith really truly comes in. Like you mentioned, having that as God as the pillar. I don't know how you can do it outside of God, because at some point you're going to be frail. There's a churchman that used to come in church, and the guy goes, one of my biggest testimonies is going home, living home and coming back home faithful. I find that to be extremely powerful. For a guy to go and come back and he's like, today we have survived. That's very powerful, right? Yeah. So I find that's something, that willpower thing is a very interesting topic. Secondly, as well, I like to say the current measure of depression is the female's expression of depression, not the men's repression of depression.
Just say that again.
The current measure of depression is the female's expression of depression, not the men's repression of depression.
So we believe depression because of how men state it, not how much men hide it.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's a very interesting dynamic. Sorry?
It's a lie. It's always stating. He's out there. He's just showing you some cows. You're like, oh, be humble. But really, deep down, man's international.
He's a wordsmith.
So I think it's really what informs. Because my whole thing is around being a student. Just keep absorbing as much because it gives meaning to what you're doing. Yeah. So it excites you to wake up tomorrow, even if you're crawling, at least you're excited to impact the communities. And I think that's really where it's at, which ultimately translates into value, and then value becomes money. Yeah. But I think the suffering in between there is what we're afraid of. You talked about this content people do. Like people walk up to me and they want to do this content thing, and they ask themselves how I'm this consistent. And they try for a week and they burn out because they don't have a why, like you mentioned earlier. Why are you doing this? Like, what's your telos? Yeah. What's the ultimate aim? Which obviously keeps evolving with time. Yeah. But and then also about relationships. One thing I probably part with, and I'm learning from my elders and my people who have lived it, my obsession really is self. You cannot attract what you're not, like you said. If your interest is the bums, then my guy.
That's exactly what you
So when I think our brother here, Chris, lives that. I've managed to see Chris from way back, and I admired how you and Joe, Mrs. carried yourselves. There's certain things you see that cannot be faked. You know, there's some guys who are very performative. But when you see Chris and the missus, there's something about them that is real. You know, and you admire. And I think it resonates a lot with how you carry yourself as a person, which you ultimately attract. You cannot give what you cannot attract. You have to mirror that thing. Yeah. So if I'm broken on the inside, best believe I'm attracting brokenness.
Yes. Cool.
Yeah.
Chris, your parting shot.
My goodness. Right? This has been, for me, like one of the best shows we've had, like best conversations. Yeah, absolutely. I think
it's right there. We're there.
It's real. It's authentic. It's us showing up and being vulnerable and being honest and truthful. So
transitions
for me. So I'll just say three things, Peter and everyone here. Have faith in God's love for you. Because look, after everyone has run out of patience for you, after everyone has given up on you, you have a God who loves you. For me, I think that's important. because it anchors every man. The second thing is be faithful to community. Like if if you don't lean into community and the easiest way for anyone to destroy any man is you isolate them. Every time a man goes down, he is alone. In fact, God said it's not good for a man to be alone. So be faithful to community. The third thing I would say is fight for your mission. Because if you don't, you fall for anything and you'll be destroyed. So 3 things: faithful, rather have faith in God's love for you, be faithful to community, fight for the mission. Because you'll never go down with those 3 things.
Right, great stuff. So you've heard it from the men tonight. If you're a guy out there who's going through stuff, just know it's not just you. All of us here know what it is. We understand, and we all know that we can do better. It's just a season. It is not a reason. Stay safe, be good, God bless, and we will see you next week on the only show that lights up your Tuesday night, and that is Men.